Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This time on the Kindness Project, why being cool isn't that cool, question of the week, and acts to help you become more kind.
Hi and welcome to week 5 of the Kindness Project. I'm joined with Charlotte, a girl so cool. She's recording a podcast with her dad. How you doing, Charlotte? You right?
And I'm with Chris, the man with so much tech, electricity probably runs through his veins.
You know what? I don't think I've got that much tech. I mean, all right, I've got computers and gaming machines and a podcast mic and I've got a lot of tech. All right, that's fair enough. But one of the good news stories out of that is we get to record a podcast together because we've got a decent podcast, mate. So
I don't see the issue with sitting here with my dad recording a podcast.
It's what all the cool kids are doing, I think. You know,
I don't think so, but I'm not one of the cool kids anyway.
Who wants to be cool?
Who wants to be cool when you can be smart?
Cool is overrated, right?
Exactly.
Cool is overrated. So, as you probably know by now, this is the Kindness Project, where we share stories of kindness. Share stories of kindness. I don't know where that voice comes from. I think that was my Sean Connery impression. Share stories of kindness, where we share stories of kindness with our listeners, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories of kindness, who we should speak to, who you think are particularly kind, so we can share those stories with the world, our listeners. I think the world might be a bit of an exaggeration at this point, but
I mean, if the whole world wants to listen, go ahead.
Why not? Why not? And why not? And the format always is we have a brief introductory chat where we have question of the podcast. No, question of the podcast, isn't it? Or is it question of the week?
You said question of the week last time, so I was like...
Okay, where we have question of the week. Your turn.
Okay, question of the week.
Your one's better. So we're going to have question of the week coming up in a minute. I bet you're massively excited about that. Then we share kindness news. So there's stories from around the world of things that are kind. And then we have a main event. So the main event is going to be where we dig deep into a concept around kindness, or we interview somebody who's particularly kind. Why are you laughing so much? We're recording this. I've got a little home office at my house, and we can just see our dog just playing in the back garden. Let's call it playing. So this week's question, focus, Charlotte, focus. This week's ignore Dexter playing in the garden. This week's question, if I can find it, is question of the week. What is the most inspiring movie ever? Now, listeners, while Charlotte's thinking about this, we want to hear your most inspiring movie ever. What movie inspires you the most? And it can inspire you to spend more time with the people you love, to be kinder, to be happier, to work harder. But what is the most inspiring movie ever? Charlotte, your answer.
I don't know. I think if I had to pick a movie that I've watched recently, I think we watched Bridge of Spies in history, and that was quite inspiring because no matter how many times they said to him, your mission is just to get that one man home, and he kept saying, no, I'm going to get both of them home. I'm going to trade both of them for this one guy. And he wasn't just helping the two guys he was taking back, he was helping the one guy he was getting back to his own country.
Gotcha. Because
they had become friends.
So that's a Steven Spielberg movie, isn't it? Is it Tom Hanks in it?
Yeah. And he wasn't just helping the people from his country, he was helping the people on the other side of it's a movie set in the Cold War.
Yeah.
And it's called The Bridge Spies because the Russians, they had a spy called Gary Powers, and I can't remember the student's name, but he got captured by one of the German republics.
Okay.
And they said, we're not going to let him go until we get...
So what makes it so inspiring?
It was sort of the fact that he never gave up.
Gotcha.
Everyone kept saying to him, no, you just get the one guy and you go home.
Gotcha.
And he kept going, no, I'm going to get both.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get this one guy from this other country which has missiles really close to us and nearly started a nuclear war with us to his home.
Gotcha.
And I think the fact that he was willing to fight for both sides.
Yeah. So
despite
he had
having such a pride in his family.
So he had an internal sense of fairness that made him a hero. But Tom Hanks is good at playing like everyday heroes, isn't he? I mean, that's what he does. Have you ever seen The Terminal?
No.
So it's about a guy who flies to America. And there's a civil war in his country, and he can't get actually into America, and he gets stuck at the airport. But I think out of like sort of everybody, and we were talking about this the other day, there's two actors that spring to mind who play everyman characters really well. Tom Hanks and Martin Freeman.
Yes.
He's got the ability to convey emotion just as an ordinary bloke. Just fantastically well. I love it.
I think if you're looking for an actor who's like really good, I think David Tennant's a good actor because he does play both sides of the scale. He can be a superhero if he wants to, but he can also be a supervillain. Like Jessica Jones, he was the villain in that, but he was also the Doctor, and I think they're quite opposite sides of the spectrum, and yet he pulls off both quite perfectly.
So if I was to answer that question, I'd suggest that there's bits of films that are inspirational. And there's an old, it's not that old, but I don't know if you would have seen it. There's an Oliver Stone film called Any Given Sunday.
I've seen it.
And it's an American football film. And Al Pacino does this speech at the end about him being a middle-aged man, but he's trying to inspire these young American football athletes. I mean, we all know that American football is not football. That's like sort of, that doesn't need to be said.
Yeah, but they can say that because... we call it football, and then we call theirs American football. But we call what they call football American football. What they have football, which is obviously our American football, and they have soccer.
You've just confused me. I knew that they called it soccer, but
but it's like they have like a completely different name for it.
Yeah.
So who knows where that's come from?
Don't know. But so the speech at the end of Any Given Sunday is probably one of the most inspirational 3 minutes of movie. Then you've got movies like It's a Wonderful Life. That is a roller coaster up and down story that has a redemptive ending from a guy who's seen the lowest of the low and then comes back.
There was this movie, I can't remember what it's called, I saw the trailer for it.
Well, that's helpful.
But it was about this guy, and his son was part of this school, and the school dug up one of the time capsules that the school had buried like 50 years ago. And he had this letter from one of the previous students. In it was this list of numbers.
Yep.
And the man took the list of numbers, and he tried to figure out what it all meant, because obviously since opening the letter, something had happened to his son. And... he figured out that the list of numbers were disasters that were going to happen, dates, times, and how many people were going to be killed.
Oh no, that's right. But I think I know.
There was one scene in it.
Yeah.
Where they were on the train, and he tried to save people, and they wouldn't listen to him.
Right.
And he tried to save this woman and her baby, and he said, "Get off with your child."
Yeah.
And I think that's quite inspirational. That he tried to save them,
so he was,
even though he put himself in danger.
He was quite selfless. The problem I've got with that, Charlotte, is I've got a funny feeling, and listeners, if you know what film this is, please do let us know. I've got a feeling that film's got Nicolas Cage. It is Nicolas Cage in that film, right?
Yes.
So Nicolas Cage is one of the actors that, for me, ruins most movies. Now, he's been in 2 good movies, 3. He's been in The Rock, Con Air, and Face Off. And they were 3 awesome films. But everything else he's in is shockingly bad. But obviously you enjoyed it.
I liked that movie, yeah.
Okay, cool.
But it probably had a bigger impact on me because I saw it when I was younger. Yeah. And obviously I didn't care about actors back then. I just cared about the story. Yeah. I still don't really care about actors. I just care about the story.
Listen, I'll give every actor a chance. Every actor in the world, every actor in the universe has a chance.
So if
apart from Nicolas Cage.
So if an alien came to you and said, I want to take part in Macbeth.
I'm cool with that. I think we should see more aliens in Macbeth and Shakespeare. I'd like to see a Martian Romeo and Juliet. I think that'd be good, as long as it didn't contain Nicolas Cage, because that would be that would be a step too far.
Aren't you being a bit unfair to Nicolas Cage?
Look, I'm sure he's got his fans, right? I'm sure some people like him. I'm not a big fan of Nicolas Cage. And on that note, let's talk a little bit about kindness, shall we? Just not to Nicolas Cage. Should we move on to the next scene?
Yeah.
Cool. Hi, and this part of the show is one of my favourites, actually, because it's where we get to talk about. Take it away, Charlotte.
Kindness news.
So I'm not sure what I like the best. Either it's the cough that always comes before it, or the actual jingle itself. I mean, I can't imagine you saying kindness news without starting it like this. so maybe that should be part of the jingle, just the little cough at the start. But you've got more kindness news for us, right?
I do. So there was a photographer, Kesha Shonnet, I'm not sure how to pronounce that surname, hope I'm pronouncing it right, who was a mum of a 3 and a 4-year-old, and she was on a packed plane when she heard a baby and a child crying and a toddler having what she called a milk. She realised that the mum had her hands full with 3 little ones, but rather than helping the mum, the passengers nearby puffed and complained.
Yeah, it's frustrating travelling with kids sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. And there was a woman complaining to this mother that her child needs to stop kicking her seat. So what she did is she went over and went a few rows and go ask her if she needs any help. And she immediately handed over her small child because she had her other 2 children. So this photographer, she went and sat down with the baby and it stopped crying and the plane took off. And she said this: "My point, be nice and considerate. If someone needs help, help them. How can we ignore a human in distress? Please be kind, please be considerate. Help one another, it makes everything easier."
See, I it's really interesting because I've been on both sides of that. So I've been travelling with you and Sophie, and I mean you've always been relatively well behaved on flights, but I've also seen kids be poorly behaved on flights. But as you say, instead of huffing and puffing, and to my shame, I've never actually done that. I've never actually turned around to someone and go, can I help you with your children? But actually turning around and saying, can I help? And being open enough to say, look, I'm just going to try and be the solution instead of part of the problem. I think is an awesome thing to do.
I think the more people complain, the harder it is to kind of concentrate on your children, because the more people that are talking in your ears, the harder for you to actually understand what they're trying to say to you through the crying and the...
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the mum just handed the child over worries me a bit, but the act of supporting a fellow human being in a time when they're obviously under a lot of pressure, stress and potential distress is quite a cool thing to do. So that is a really, really great story to share. Thank you for that, Charlotte. So, Charlotte, we're both big fans of technology. And I think often technology is seen as a negative thing. And it can be, can't it?
It can be sometimes.
It can be a distraction, and it can be something where we probably become zombies to our technology as opposed to anything else. But I also like to think there's a huge advantage to technology, right? And one of those advantages is the ability to use technology to be a bit kinder.
Yes.
Now, I know you've been looking at that, haven't you?
Yeah, I have got 6 apps to promote kindness, I suppose you can say.
Well, I'm going to throw in a couple as well, because I've got a couple of good ones that I've been using.
So, to start with, an app called The Act of Kindness. The main idea of the app is to activate your inner good doer by helping you choose a good deed to perform. There's over 300 suggestions, including acts of kindness, charitable donations, and more. Acts of kindness lets you post good deeds to social media to inspire others. The company behind this good doing app pledges to donate 25% of all ad revenue directly to Goodwill, which is a company that helps people looking for jobs.
And where can you find the app? Is it on the App Store or is it?
It's on iPhones and iPads only.
iPhones and iPads only. Cool. Yep. So do you want to hear about my one?
Yes.
So this came from a bit of a personal experience. So because I've been thinking about kindness a lot more, this sort of, I was looking at my app store. I've got an Android phone. I was looking at my app store and noticed an app called Be My Eyes. Have you ever heard of Be My Eyes?
You've mentioned it, but you didn't tell me what it was.
Okay, cool. So Be My Eyes is an app designed to connect the blind and partially sighted to people who can help them. So imagine this. I'm blind or partially sighted.
Yep.
I want to see a sign that I can't really visualise. I log on to the Be My Eyes app, get help from hundreds of thousands of volunteers who will tell me what that sign says so I can navigate my way around a particular town or city. Or, I think it's really clever. I think it's a really smart idea. Or I want to wear the red dress. I like red dresses personally, but I want to wear the red dress as opposed to the blue dress out.
What's wrong with the blue dress?
Nothing wrong with the blue dress. It's like that. Do you remember that optical illusion? Is it a blue dress? Is it a...
Oh, is it like black or is it white on white?
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? That was the weird. But anyway, so let's say I've got a blue dress and a red dress.
And you don't want to accidentally put on the blue dress, so...
And I want to wear a specific dress. So all I do is I log on to as a blind person, I log on to the Be My Eyes app, click Need a Volunteer, point my camera phone at the particular dresses, and they can tell me which one I need to pick. So I just think that idea was a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's really taken off. So it's global, so anybody in the world can use it. And it's 52,800 blind people using it and hundreds of thousands of volunteers. So currently, as I'm looking at the app now, there's 781,000 volunteers using it. Now, up to now, I've had this on my phone for 4 or 5 weeks. I haven't had a call yet because obviously there's a lot more volunteers.
There's more volunteers than actual blind people.
Yeah, so, but to have it on your phone and when it calls, and if it calls, I'll make sure I update you on the podcast about how that dialogue goes.
Cool.
So have you got another one?
I actually have 5 more.
Okay.
This next one is called Butterfly Effect.
Okay.
And basically, the main idea of it is that it's an anonymous community of users who express gratitude, share secrets, and inspire one another. Users could communicate positive thoughts via email and newsfeed, record events and thoughts in a private calendar, photo journal, and receive inspirational quotes. The unique feature is that the name of the app is based off the scientific theory coined the butterfly effect. The idea behind it is that a single occurrence, no matter how small, can change the course of the universe. The app is looking to flap its digital wings to create a far-reaching positive ripple effect of happiness and gratitude and inspiration.
So you're reading that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because I really like the phrase "flap its digital wings."
Yeah, I've left it.
I'm just. What are you up to, Chris? I'm just flapping my digital wings. I'm just having a little flap.
What are you actually doing? I'm browsing the internet.
I'm flapping my digital wings. But actually, just being out there and creating some good vibes, I actually think generates more positivity because I don't know if you'd ever counteract the sort of deluge of negativity online, but doing your bit to just
Make it a little bit more positive.
Make it a little bit more positive is a good thing. So
that should be my catchphrase. Make it a little bit more positive.
Flap your digital wings and make the world a little bit more positive by flapping your digital wings. So as you've got loads, and I've only got one more left, do you want to do another one?
Okay, so the next one is called Random Act of Kindness, or RAK.
RAK.
R-A-K.
Okay.
The main idea is that it declares itself as more than just a fun app, but rather a movement that will inspire you to give to others.
Okay, I like that.
A simple click on the Be Kind button or a shake of the device will give you your RAK for the day, so your random act of kindness for the day.
Just a quick point. We're going to put all of links to all of these apps and websites, because is that a website and an app, or is that?
No, it's an app.
It's an app. Mm-hmm. We're going to put a link to all of the sort of digital homes of these apps on the show notes on the www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. So when you flap your digital wings, whatever that means,
to flap them in that direction.
You can flap them in a specific direction.
The unique feature is that RAK lets you document your goodwill gestures, sharing with all your social media buddies.
So you can share it with your mates. so that digital flap can flap a bit further. Yeah, do you know what? I suppose there's an argument to say, should we share our deeds of kindness, or actually is it a bit egotistical to say, how awesome am I?
I mean, there's arguments to say that it can inspire others to do acts of kindness, but there's also the egotistical way of looking at it.
See, I think if you're sharing the good stuff you're doing, actually it probably has more of a positive effect than a negative effect.
Yeah, but there's always those two ways of looking at it, isn't there?
And I think really interestingly, we've spoken before about how some people do stuff. The guy in London who does stuff completely anonymously shares it on his blog, but nobody knows who he is. So actually, I think
there's ways so it doesn't seem egotistical.
Yeah, so you can do it publicly if you want, or you can do it anonymously if you want. I think the important thing is just doing it, right?
Yeah.
Just going out there and being intentional about being kind. So would you like to show us another way that we can flap our digital wings
and be more kind,
and make the world a little bit of a better place? Are any of those trademarked, or are you?
A little bit of digital place. It will be soon. Okay, so the next one, it's called Boom Boom.
Boom. Okay, I'm waiting to hear how this is going to be kind. What's it called?
Boom.
Boom. Right.
Okay. This energetic app is all about guerrilla goodness and encourages people to document these incredible acts of kindness. If you witness something amazing or are on the receiving end of someone's kindness, take a picture and tell the story about what happened. All good doing posts appear on a newsfeed stream and will encourage others to spread the good.
Yep.
The creators of Boom Boom also have a deck of 26 physical cards with an altruistic deed that you must play it forward. Each card has its own ID number, allowing for users to pass the card on
you can track
its good doing journey on the website's map or app as it moves across the world.
Excellent, good news, and we'll make sure we put that in the show notes. So, would you like my extra one?
Yes.
So my extra one is one that we probably all use, but certainly I know my wife Cassie uses it for kindness probably a lot more than me. It's Facebook. I think Facebook has an incredible power to put people together. And I know certainly Cassie uses Facebook to get access to our local Pay It Forward group. You heard of Pay It Forward groups?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I
think the next app I'm talking about is literally called Pay It Forward.
But I mean, you can either use the specific Pay It Forward app, or if you don't want to sort of download loads and loads of different apps on your phone, and you've already got Facebook, just do a Google search do a Facebook search for your local area, and then Pay It Forward. And certainly, I know that Cassie, through involvement with the group, effectively people can come on there and go, "I need help. I need something," or "I'm offering something," and this.
Is that where she gets all the free furniture?
But you know what? We've used it for a sofa bed. There was somebody offering a sofa bed on there, and we needed one because we had people to stay. But there was one thing that Cassie, my wife, did where a lady had to go to a black tie event. She'd started a new job. She was a single mum, and she put on the Pay It Forward group. My first black tie in sort of 15 years of bringing up my children. I've got no money. Can you please help me? And her and Debbie got together. Cassie, my wife, gave the lady a dress. Debbie gave her a pair of shoes. Cassie gave her some jewellery. And literally, she was completely kitted out for this black tie event, for this new job she was starting, for this, from going back to work. And
if Mum and Debbie are kitting her out, I'd like to see pictures of that.
Well, I don't know whether there are pictures. I think it's a bit, I don't know if it's the right thing to do, to go, "I've given you all this stuff, can I take a photo?" But certainly, just through a connection on Facebook, being able to help that lady out with all the stuff she needs for a black tie event is actually quite a nice thing to do. Yeah. So I actually think all the tools that we probably need are at our disposal. So it's not an app. But if you just search Pay It Forward, well, it is an app.
It is
an app, but it's probably an app you've already got.
Yeah.
Use Facebook, have a look at your local Pay It Forward site and see if you can either help or benefit from, because we've used it for both, your local Pay It Forward group.
We have just shown you the kinder side of Facebook.
This is the kinder side of social media. Flapping your Facebook wings so you can
make the world a little bit better.
I'm flying without. No, don't sing. So you had an app called Pay It Forward, didn't you?
Right, so the official app of the global Pay It Forward movement that was designed to make the world a better place to live. Consisting of a simple...
Costing?
I misread that. It's consisting of simple and small acts. The app sends you a daily suggestion and allows you to keep track of your progress. The app houses...
So it sends you... this is how you could potentially be a bit kind of
Yeah.
See, I like the idea.
App has a map of the world in which you can see where the most good deeds are taking place. Okay. Also, there is a classroom section for teachers and students that are daily acts of kindness geared to minimise bullying at school.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
One more, and it's mostly for kids in classrooms.
Okay, share it.
It's called My Digital Problem Solver, or My DPS. It uses CGI animated videos to teach kids to identify emotions through facial expressions, body language, and written and spoken language. Kids will learn how to recognise social cues and develop coping and problem-solving strategies, equipping them with the skills they need to handle real-life situations with kindness and respect.
So it's really interesting because when you look at the lessons they teach in schools, and I don't know about you, you've probably got more of an insight into this than me. One of the things that I find is missing from that standard curriculum are things like emotional intelligence, resilience, sensitivity. Things.
They try to teach us like leadership and stuff.
Okay, well that's important.
But obviously, leadership also comes with that emotional sensitivity you're talking about, because if you're going to lead someone, you need to be able to understand them.
I think so.
What they're going on.
I think so. Where are they doing that? Is that a global thing?
It's an app.
Okay, cool.
It's used in classrooms.
So there's a few tips on
to help you go and flap your digital wings, so make the world a little bit kinder.
So that you can flap your digital wings. That phrase is going to haunt me. I know it. And make the world a little bit more kinder.
So, we've reached the end of another podcast, Charlotte. How did you think that went?
Wow.
So did I. However, we've still got some unanswered questions, some unfinished business. We've got to do last week's podcast question of the week, answered this week.
And last week when we asked it.
And last week's question of the week was...
Where in the world would you most like to visit?
Where in the world would you most like to visit? That's actually our second take on that, listeners, because on the first take, Charlotte just went, world places visit. And I thought that a bit more context around the question might be useful.
No, the actual thing I said
world places visit.
The actual thing
world places visit.
Where places visit.
Where places visit. I mean, you could have probably gone from that. But we had Twitter went absolutely wild on this one. We had at least 5 answers, so I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I'd call that wild, but it's mildly enthusiastic, I think. So, Phil Billingham had a really good suggestion, and I like all these 3, and I've not been to any of these 3. St. Petersburg in Russia.
Yeah.
The Wall of China, Great Wall of China, and the Scilly Isles.
See, I wanted to write a book about St. Petersburg, so that might be a good idea.
What was the book about St. Petersburg?
I don't know yet. I have a title, and I want to build around it, and the title is The Seagulls of St. Petersburg.
I like it.
But I don't know whether to do it about a ballet thing.
Would you call it the Seagulls of St. Petersburg, or alternatively, would you call it the Seagulls of Stalingrad? That's got quite a good name to it, hasn't it? Quite a good ring to it. Seagulls of Stalingrad or Seagulls of St. Petersburg?
I think I'd call the book Seagulls of St. Petersburg, but the last chapter would be about, if you bring new information, like the last chapter would be the Seagulls of Stalingrad, but obviously it would be about, because of what you've just said, I'm obviously now going to do it about how it went from Stalingrad to St. Petersburg.
Ah, interesting.
Or maybe write a story about something happened entirely in reverse. So they, instead of them getting,
you've got loads of different options there. But one of my favourite historical books is about the siege of Stalingrad. It's incredible. Matt Walton said Middle Earth, Hogwarts, or Tatooine, which apparently is a bizarre Star Wars reference. But as I've not seen any of the Star Wars movies, I wouldn't get.
I'm pretty sure I know what Middle Earth's from.
Middle Earth is from Lord of the Rings, isn't it?
Yes.
Hogwarts is from Harry Potter. And Tatooine, I had to Google because I didn't know what it was, and it's a Star Wars reference. And the reason... If
I was following his logic, I'd love to go to Camp Half-Blood, Hotel Valhalla, and I don't know, somewhere else probably.
Somewhere else?
Yeah, somewhere else.
Swindon. And the reason Matt picked all those places...
Yeah, I'd love to go to Oz.
The reason he picked all those places is because he likes to keep it real. Of course you do, Matt. Of course you do. So Planner Girl, at Planner Girl on Twitter, said, I visited Madagascar briefly once, worthy of a return visit. Certainly, I'd love to go to Madagascar.
Oh, look at the bit at the end. Hashtag stunning.
Hashtag stunning. So we need to have a trip to Madagascar at some point. Mike McNamara's keeping it real. Mars. I just like he's picked a place but maybe the pace that technology is moving, maybe Mars seems a long way away, but could happen sooner than we think. Don't know.
Mars is named after the Roman god of war.
I do know that.
But his Greek counterpart was Ares. But there was one thing that I really liked about Greek and Roman gods. But it's that the Roman gods, they are pretty much the same as the Greek gods, except there's less feminism.
Okay.
There's more strong female characters in the Greek gods than the Roman gods, because obviously they have Athena, and she was the goddess of battle strategy.
Yeah.
Minerva, the goddess of wisdom.
But we talked the other day that they had a sewing and crocheting god, didn't they? That didn't feel particularly feminist to me. Who was that?
That was Athena as well. Yeah.
So she was the goddess of battle strategies and crochet.
Strategy, wisdom, weaving.
Okay, cool. Right. So back to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Stoves at Mrs. Stoves on Twitter said the Northern Lights. Now I know that's on Cassie's as on my wife's list, certainly on mine, but I don't know whether we're going to try and see them in Iceland or in the glass igloos that look different. Martin at London Money, Antarctica. You can keep your temples and soft white beaches. Standing at the bottom of the world really appeals, and I get that. Standing at the top or the bottom of the world anywhere makes perfect sense to me. And actually, even though I said that I'd like to go, and I don't know how I'd convince the family, he said you can come with me. So I've got myself a little holiday there.
Aww. I'll just hide in the suitcases.
Our old mate Darren Cook says, been to many places on my tick list, but Australia, New Zealand, Iceland. So Iceland's a bit of a repeating theme on this list.
Iceland's very, very green.
And
Greenland's very, very icy.
And more of America. And Rich Ellis said Argentina and Venezuela. I reckon that South America is the gap that I've got the most. Japan for the culture.
That's where we've wanted to go for ages.
It's still on the list, isn't it? And Fiona Sharp said Pearl Harbor.
Oh,
Vietnam.
I know what happened in Pearl Harbor, 7th of December. I can't remember the year, but I just remember it was 7th of December because
Vietnam and El Alamein, because she likes a bit of military history with her cocktails. so that was her choice. So we had a really, really diverse range of different places, but the kindness questions are still, the question of the podcast is still open. You can answer any one that we've asked previously about eggs, about travel, about are most people generally good. Any of the questions we've asked previously, feel free to chip in.
And just because the whole world doesn't hear your answers doesn't mean they won't make our day.
Yeah, so certainly we want to hear them. So how do people get in touch with us, Charlotte?
Hola Kindness, Twitter. HOLA Kindness.
So on Twitter you can find us at HOLA Kindness. Our own Twitter, not bios because I said that last time, but our own Twitter handles are at Chris Dames, DAEMS, and yours is similar, but with a Charlotte at the front and a J at the front, and without a Chris.
CHARLOTTE space J space DAEMS.
And you can email us at holla@thekindnessproject.co.uk. And also, if you've liked anything, any of the Kindness News, and you want to read a bit more about those stories, you can find that on the show notes that are on www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. However, we've had some more readers' stories of kindness that I want to share. Would you like to hear one?
Yes, please.
This is from Ian Else. I once sold a bed to a lady for her grandson. She explained she had just come to live with him because his mum and stepdad had mistreated him. She didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, and he had no toys or games. She was trying to buy some second-hand furniture for his bedroom. After she left, it struck me that I had bought a brand new Nintendo Wii and never taken it out of the box. I called and asked whether she would like it. Nothing has given me more pleasure than the look on his face when he collected it, and the look on her face when she still couldn't quite believe it. Now, we've been talking about the satisfaction you get from kindness.
Yes.
And I love that phrase. Nothing has given me more pleasure than the look on his face when he collected it. I just doing something awesome for somebody else is a really cool thing to do, isn't it? So what do you think of that story?
Being awesome is awesome.
Being awesome is awesome. And on that note, it's the end of another Kindness Project. So we'll see you next week.
Bye.